The Acolyte episode 4 has dropped last night, and there's a lot of reactions happening online for it. So welcome back to Views with Hughes or Jennifer News. This is Jerome Hughes, and we're going to go ahead and get right into the story of the hour. Now, The Acolyte. A lot of people have seen it. I haven't, but I'm going to share with you all what people are saying about it as well as what's happening in it. So I guarantee you, a lot of you are not going to watch it, but I'm just going ahead and give you all the spoilers and stuff. So, yeah. Some of the fans just finished watching the Acolyte episode 4, and yes, from the Acolyte under Kathleen Kennedy. And let me tell you, Star Wars fans have said it was as bad as you expected. Okay, it was boring, pathetic, and also terribly written with bad dialogue, which is nothing new because it's been that way. They've been saying that since episode 1, and not much even happened on the surface. But it was like walking from point A to point B without getting anything done. But if you look at it differently, according to some, a lot did happen, but not in terms of the story though, but because, well, a lot of people don't really watch this show for the story now because the story doesn't really make any sense. Now, this show wasn't made for storytelling. It's actually pushing agendas. Even Chris Gore mentioned before that the Acolyte under Kathleen Kennedy are now having pronouns in Star Wars. Yeah, that's right. Pronouns are in full effect in Star Wars, okay? They introduce a little character and stuff that they can try to market as cute and basically sell it. Well, another character asks, who is he or they? And then you realize, what are we doing right now? Yes, they're taking all the current day pronouns into a galaxy far, far away. And this is exactly what the Acolyte under Kathleen Kennedy exists for. It's not for the story. It's not to build the lore itself. And it's certainly not here to represent George Lucas's Star Wars, okay? And we break it down, all the arguments that, happen in the Acolyte episode 4 don't even matter because that's not the point of the Acolyte under Kathleen Kennedy. The Acolyte under Kathleen Kennedy is all about pushing a certain agenda, just basically take a look at the cast and stuff. When you see all the actors and stuff playing all the different roles in the show, they went out their way to have as few white males as possible. And remember, a lot of these cast members are activists first before they're being entertainers, okay? And it's also obvious, but let's be honest. The fans have shared that the Acolyte under Kathleen Kennedy is just a showcase for diversity. Now, I don't have a problem with diversity in itself at all. I love diversity, but it shouldn't be the main reason to be making a show, especially a show like The Acolyte. And here it's clear that the main reason is to be a diversity showcase to get all the checkpoints checked off. And that's the only reason. No wonder it's at a 14% audience score right now. But to be clear though, fans are saying that The Acolyte episode 4 isn't as bad as The Acolyte episode 3. Now, don't get me wrong. Episode 3 still wasn't good, but the fans are saying that it's really boring and not much happens in episode 4. But it's nowhere near as terrible as the Acolyte episode 3. Now, a lot of people saying that one was the worst episodes of television that they've ever seen. And this might be the best so far out of the 4, but trust me, it's not as much of a compliment. Okay, but there's one thing that happened that a lot of people predicted would happen, but besides that, not much else happened in terms of story. So yeah, people are saying that the Acolyte episode 4 is slightly better, but that's not really saying a lot. Now, the fans who are watching the Acolyte under Kathleen Kennedy suddenly out of nowhere with no build up in the story or any real explanation in the dialogue, see the evil sister decide to go ahead and turn herself in. Now, there's this one Sith guy who obviously is supposed to be a knockoff version of Ezra Miller, okay? This guy gets caught in the trap set by the evil sister, and then out of the blue, she decides to turn herself in. Why? Because the sister's alive, okay? Now, where exactly did this particular plot twist come from? Well, it's simple, people. It's because in today's storytelling, especially forced by Kathleen Kennedy, you can't have a diverse woman stay evil, to stay as the bad guy. And there's always has to be some kind of reason or excuse for why she turned out bad. Just like Iden in Battlefront 2 or Finn in The Force Awakens and stuff, But back to that character from Battlefront 2 where the evil sister isn't really a bad guy, but she turns good because there's always something holding her back from being truly evil. Now, the underlying message seems to be like the only white men can be genuinely evil, but for everybody else and stuff, there's always some sort of justifiable reason, some tragic backstory that led them down the dark path. Okay, but the fans see that they go back to Coruscant, and I'm back to talk about the Acolyte episode 4, where the Jedi are having a bit of a chat. Now, they're saying something like, we need to keep this to ourselves and handle it alone. And yeah, I've also learned that, and get this, you wouldn't even believe it, but the Ki-Adi Mundi, yes, the cone-head Jedi, he's there. Now, for those of you who don't know who Ki-Adi Mundi is, he's a Jedi Master that was in episode 1 in the prequels, okay? So why is he in this series of the Acolyte? You know, why is he in the Acolyte under Kathleen Kennedy? He shouldn't even be alive during the High Republic. And the High Republic is supposed to be taking place 100 years before the prequels, okay? And remember, and he's the guy from the prequels who said the Sith have been extinct for a millennia. If you watch the end credit scene of this episode, episode 4, the Acolyte, you're going to see that it's really him. Okay, they actually put a character in the Acolyte under Kathleen Kennedy that shouldn't even exist yet. He wasn't even supposed to be born yet, but he's in this episode apparently, and I'm trying to figure out who actually approved this, who started this, and who also approved of it. And you know, what are they going to say? You know, how are they going to justify this? Probably say that it's some sort of ancestor with the same name and everything. But someone gave the green light for this, thinking, well, we can add him. It'll shock people. But seriously, why is Ki-Adi Mundi here in the Acolyte under Kathleen Kennedy? Okay, Ki-Adi Mundi was not supposed to be here. Ki-Adi Mundi would have said something immediately. Ki-Adi Mundi, the same guy who in episode 1 was like, oh, the Sith hasn't showed up in 1,000 years, is now supposedly keeping this a secret. Doesn't make sense at all, you know. And shout out to the people in my comment section of the last video saying that the show contradicts itself, because guess what? They're right. It's actually contradicting itself. Not only is it contradicting itself, but it's also contradicting what George Lucas put out there. But back to Acolyte episode 4, you know, this is where they brought pronouns for the characters, which already felt unnecessary in the first place. And then out of nowhere, the evil sister who has been causing the chaos in the entire series of the Acolyte decides to turn herself in. Now, that's a particular change that doesn't make any sense, all right? The Acolyte episode 4 ends on a cliffhanger with a Sith walking up to Osha and her other sister, and all the Jedi pulling out their lightsabers like they're ready for a big, you know, showdown or big fight. And honestly, this has got to be the dumbest show out there right now on streaming by a long shot. And I can't even wrap my head around how stupid this all is, and only learn about what happened from the fans. And I didn't even watch the episode, and it's just mind blowing that even I know how far off the rails the Acolyte went under Kathleen Kennedy has gone. Okay, but here we are in this year, 2024, and this is what Lucasfilm is putting out there with the Acolyte under Kathleen Kennedy, mind you. And Lucasfilm got this whole forces female thing going on, which feels like Lucasfilm is just trying to make a statement rather than tell a good story, okay? And this is Leslie Headland's take on Star Wars with the approval of Kathleen Kennedy, mind you. And now that we're 4 episodes with only a 14% audience score, the real question is, how much worse can it get? Now, honestly, I don't know, but I can guarantee it can get worse than Acolyte episode 3, but that's saying a lot, because the Acolyte episode 3 was absolutely terrible. All right. Absolutely terrible. The Acolyte episode 4, on the other hand, was filled with a lot of pointless walking, cringy dialogue that made the fans cringe, the dumb interactions between the characters that just didn't feel real at all. But unfortunately, the fans had to sit through scenes where they made a big deal about pronouns, and even the evil sister, who has been nothing but trouble, suddenly decides to turn herself in because now all of a sudden she's a good person. It's like they're just making things up as they go along. But guess what? That's not a surprise, because that's what Lucasfilm has always been doing, you know? So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional thoughts you have on this episode. What do you think about the episode? Did you watch it? Did you not watch it? Are you going to watch the rest of the season, or are you just avoiding the whole season altogether? What are your thoughts about this? What do you think this will mean for Kathleen Kennedy as well as Leslie Headland and even Bob Iger? Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional thoughts you might have with this particular topic. If you enjoyed what I shared in this video, go ahead, smash the like button, share far wide across social media. And if you haven't done so already, and you enjoy all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel. Click the bell notification so that way you'll be notified of future uploads and updates. Till then, peace.